Alright everybody, I thought I'd show you how easy it is to swap out calibers here and to change and adjust the seating dies. So to change out a caliber here, all you do is pull these two pins out, slide the tool assembly off, grab another one, and slide it in. I'm going to be adjusting this one today, so I'm just going to go ahead and put it back in. The other thing you need to do is you change the shell plate down here. This shell plate is caliber specific. I'm putting in the 9mm one, so it's right here. As you see, I mean, it fits the shell perfectly, so it'll hold it in place. And if you get a shell that's too big, too small, for instance this 3057, it won't even go in the hole. So they're caliber specific, and that's why you do it. But to do it, there's a little hold down screw in here, and you loosen it up a little bit, and a lot of people take it out. I just loosen it to where I can turn the screw here on the plate, and you turn that up. Once it comes all the way out, pop it out, pop the star out, so you get both of those off, and then you can pop off the shell plate. There's the other shell plate. I'm going to go ahead and return that into here. And the neat thing about this is, and you've got your caliber specific shell plates. The number on it matches the number in there. So that's all that. So I'll take the old one right here. I'm going to put this one up. Interesting. So you got that out, and I'm going to grab the new one now and put it in. Now today I'll be adjusting these things, so I won't be putting these brass pins in. They come with little brass pins here that help keep the shell in, but I'm going to be moving it around, so I'm not going to put it in there. But they did. I'll show you where they go in, and then I'll take them right back out. The first thing you do is get your shell plate here. As I said, it's caliber specific, so this is set up for 9mm. That's what I'm going to do. And you place it on the plate. Grab your little star, and it fits into the 4 holes, and then take the center screw and get it down in there. Now, you know, the instructions say do it hand tight and then tighten it a little bit to get the desired stiffness as you're turning the thing. I like mine semi-loose, not super loose, but I cinch it down until it gets to hand tight there, and then back it off just a hair. And at that point I start adjusting the little screw in. If you don't adjust the screw in, it self-tightens as you start turning it, and that kind of sucks. So I tighten it, get it to my, and I think that's right where I want to be. So I'm going to cinch this thing down. And we're good to go. So, turns, we're good to go. Now, at this point you take these brass pins, and there's 3 little holes there. You put them on there, and it keeps the shell from sliding out and flying off as you're doing your stuff. But as we're going to be doing one station at a time anyway, because I want to adjust these in, I'm going to go ahead and leave them out. Now, I can do this from memory, but it's always best to have the instructions out. I mean, the instructions tell you on each one how to adjust each station. It just makes sense, you know. Don't screw up your stuff, don't screw up your dies, and don't be redoing work because of that. So I'm going to get one shell out, one casing, and it says, alright, so here, I tend to turn all these lock nuts up too. Tip, make sure the shell plate is up when you're applying the lock screw. If not, the dies will turn, and that's bad juju. You know, it's just not good. So anyway, let's do the first one. So at station 1, it says, go ahead, raise the shell plate, and we want to screw the die down until it touches the shell plate. So you just twist it down, and it's going to come into contact. there it is, contact. It's not moving anymore. Lower the shell plate, insert the casing, bring it up. So, you know, again, you're going to want to bring it up, screw it till it touches the shell plate. That's why I say loosen these lock nuts all the way, because if you don't, you'll mess up just like I did there. So screw it down, it's down there. Insert the casing, bring it up. Now that it's up, now we're going to go ahead and tighten down the lock nut, because we're just sized it. So the casing is sized properly. And boom, there you go. Station 1's that easy. That easy. Now this is a perfectly straight and round casing, and it is pretty. So first round done. So station 2. This one's a little tricky because you got this powder measure on here. If you don't have it in, the funnel, which also provides for the belling, doesn't do the belling. So you have to. It's tricky. So what you're going to want to do is the powder bar, put it at full return, and you're going to raise this up. And when it does, you're going to want to watch the whole powder bar extend fully. So it's going to give it a full dump. So that's what you're going to do. So I'm here. I've got it in there. I'm going to pull it up. Boom. I got full extension. I think I belled too much already. So I'm going to go ahead and raise this up some more. This is a very small shell, so you just loosen it up. Raise that thing up as high as you can. So I did get full extension on the power bar, so that's good. That's the first step. So I'm going to re-close it. Go ahead and size this bad boy again, just make sure we're all capiche. So we're going to put them in there. You want to see the powder bar go actuate fully? It does. Boom, that's the first step. So we're good, we got full extension. Now we need to keep adjusting it, the die down, so you get the proper amount of belling. And belling is a tricky one, because what belling does is, and you need a set of calipers for this, is you want to get a measurement of the case width. And this one sits at 478 thousandths. So you want to go to, they say, between 10 and 20 thousandths higher. So 400, excuse me, right here at 473. See it right there? 473 thousandths. So I want to get up to 493 thousandths of bell. So if I roll this up to there, I don't like that much, so I kind of go about 15 thousandths. About 8 right there. I like to lock it down a little bit there. And remember, what you're doing is you're gonna measure it at the mouth of the case until it gets to there. It's not much. See? Alright. So they recommend that you turn this 1/8 of a turn at a time. So I'm going to hold the powder bar, I'm going to turn it 1/8 of a turn, and put the shell back in, and then I'm going to measure the belling. Did I get any belling on it? And you can see it, you know, after you've been doing this a while. See it? Nope, still not good. So keep doing this until we get to our seated length. Hit it again. Still not there. I'm going to give you a representation of what we want to see here, though, too. So what you're looking for here is, I got some 9mm bullets. What we're going to go ahead and do is, I'll show you why you want to do this. When you get a round, and you've done this, and you've sized it, it's all the same length. And this, you don't want your bullet in there loose, because it'll fall out. And when it falls out, obviously, it's not working properly. So what we're trying to do here is get this bullet. If I take an older piece and put it on there, see how that's exactly what we don't want to have happen. Is have that bullet fall off, and it falls off because doesn't have any bell to it. So that's what we're doing here. And we're trying to bell it just so it sits. And see, this one still isn't there because the bullet didn't want to sit on there easily. So I do the smart bullet test as well. So we'll put it in again. We'll give it another little check. And not even close yet. We're going to keep going. And you just keep doing this until you get that proper amount of belling. Now, I like to do the bullet seat. Sit it and see what it feels like, and then kind of, still not there. I eyeball it as well with my calipers. They say you're able to do it by eye, and they're right. I can now. I can see what the belling's going to do, and that's not even close still. I went way down on this, which is good. When I first started doing this, I've got a couple of rounds that I'll show you. I had them tied in real tight. I mean, look at that. That's ridiculous. I mean, that amount of belling, you can't run that through a straightening die. This is a wasted piece of brass now. So when I was first doing it, even that's too much. I mean, a wasted piece of brass. You can't ever use it again. So you want to do this step real slow. And if it takes a while, who cares? I mean, who really gives a hoot? You want to do it and get it right, but you don't want to brass is expensive, so you don't want to over bell this stuff and then have to deal with it. So, I don't mind going over and over and over and over. Now that's pretty darn close. See that? The bullet's sitting on there. Getting there. I got just a little bit more. I'm thinking another 1/8 of a turn will get it. I'm going to try it right there and see what we get. And when you do that, there's not much pressure placed on this casing. I mean, on my arm. When you're sizing it, you feel it. When you're belling it, and there's only that casing in there, it's not much. I'm going to give it one more little 1/8 of a turn. I think we're right there. I know this is taking a while to get to, but it's worth taking the time. And now that bullet sits on there nicely. And you want it just enough bell that it'll sit on there. And I can see it. I can see the belling on there, just a slight bit. I don't know if you can see that in the video. When I edit this, I'll see if you can. I'm not sure. When I throw on the calipers here, it's almost right there. I'm going to go ahead and check and see what it is exactly. So this one was 7.7, and it's now 7.3, and it's now 8. So it's about 7/10. I'm going to go one more 1/8 of a turn just to be sure, because I don't want to have not enough belling. It'll cause glove ups later on. So there we go. One more. And it's not much pressure there at all. You can barely feel it, and that may be perfect. I can see it now. The bullet will stay on there. It's not falling off, so that's good. And then I'm just going to check it just to make sure. Yep. About 10 thousandths. They say you want almost 20. I think it's a little much in the instruction booklet, but so I kind of split the difference and see where I go from there. And that's about 10 right there, so that's perfect for me. And there it is. Bullet seats on it fine. So now that it's there, put the shell back in, like always. Take that thing all the way up. Once it's in place, tighten down the lock nut. It's very important not to do it, because if not, the die will push further down, and when it pushes down, you're going to bell it out more. So you definitely want to tighten it while the actual casing is in the press. And it doesn't have to be gorilla tight, just tight so it doesn't move. And you do this for every single caliber that you're doing, and it stays put. So that's there. One last thing we have to do with this is we need to adjust the position of the powder bar. And the way you do that is you want, we've already got this to actuate fully, now we need to unactuate. And you do that via the fail-safe rod. I haven't had to adjust the wing nut on any of these other ones, but you place it in here so it goes through both, and then I just turn the powder measure until it gets into its natural position. And the way you do that is let the casing down and then just twist this thing. I remove the casing at that point, and if you're feeling worried, you can double check the belling again just to make sure it's still good, and it is. It's within the tenths. So then I raise the powder bar up, and I just let this fail-safe rod fall naturally into the hole, and wherever that is. So right about there it looks like. I go ahead and lower enough to get the casing in. Shove the casing in. This locks the powder measure in place. It's not going to turn anymore because it's right where it needs to be. And I tighten this bad boy down on the 2 screws so it won't turn when I lower it without the casing in. So, yeah, tighten these down real quick. The press comes with all these Allen wrenches and all the tools you need. The only thing I did was get a 3/8 and a 7/16 so that I could adjust how much powder I'm dropping. This is 7/16, and nut on the other side here is 3/8. So I use those. Those are the only 2 things I had to add. The wrench they send with is actually 7/16 here, but I find it's easier to use just a regular old wrench, just because it's a little more ergonomic. This is 1 inch, so if you have a 1-inch wrench, you can use it. You know, this just fits in the hole a little bit better, so I tend to use that. But now at this point, when you do it all, the powder bar should come all the way back, and it does. Fail safe, full load, and it actuates, and this is in its natural hanging position, right where it should be. Right where it should be. It's natural hanging position. So you've got it right where it needs to be. So that's that. So the next die we're going to set, the powder measure is now done. The next one we're going to do is we're going to actually seat this to the proper depth. Now there's 2 or 3 places you can get that. I like to use the SAMI charts. The SAMI charts are very useful. You can get them online, SAMI.org. It tells everything about the casing. You can measure it. Length of the casing, width, depth, overall length of the case, what the maximum the bullet should be, what the minimum should be. So for a 9mm, it should be 1 inch minimum, top to bottom, on the casing. Casing the bullet 1 inch minimum with a max of 1,169. So 169 thousandths. The casing should actually be, looking right here, front to back, 0.754. So I'm going to go ahead and check that measurement real quick right now. And when I do, this casing is should be a 1/2 inch, and it is pretty darn close. Excuse me, it's supposed to be 0.754. Gosh, I'm blowing here. So look, it's 0.7 and it's 5.2. So it says 0.754 min to max, and it is there. 0.754. So I'm at my minimum. So I want to seat this to a depth of 1 inch to 1.619 inches. So you can do the same thing. You set the bullet on, slide it into the seating die. Here's where I kind of use the pins occasionally. I'm not going to this time though, just to make sure it stays in there. But you just raise your seating die. It's right there. And the book tells you at this point to station 3 that we are supposed to put a case in the shell plate, no bullet, raise the platform up, screw the die just till it touches the shell plate, and back it out 2 turns. So, I'm going to put a case in there, I'm going to raise the shell plate, I'm going to turn this die until it just touches the shell plate. I got little fat fingers here. I can imagine guys with big hands. But you keep turning it down just until it touches the shell plate. Getting close. Tell everybody to loosen these locking nuts to the top, but they don't believe me. And all this one does is it pushes the bullet into the casing to the proper length. So it just hit the shell plate. Look at where it is, and I'm going to go 2 turns. I'm going to go half turn, 1 turn, half turn, that's 2 turns. So do 2 turns, and then come back. So the only other thing I like to do at this point is I tend to I pull the retaining pin, and I like to check which size bullet what I'm gonna use for my actual bullet. This is the seating die, and in here you have a little pin that you can remove. And when that happens, the actual seating stem comes out, and it's 2 shapes. It's kind of a rounded shape and a squarish shape, and you can choose which one fits your bullet better, bullet type you're using. That one fits pretty good. So does that one, to tell you the truth. But this one's more rounded, and this is a flatter tip, so I'm going to go ahead and put the flat tip one in to seat. So you just take that and you put it back in the die. It slides right into place. Put the pin back in. You're done. And at that point, you can stick this back in the die. And put the retaining locking pin back on. And well, it was stuck. I apologize. The pin went all the way through. And this will hold it in place. So I've got the proper seat on there. So I'm going to put the shell, I'm going to put the seat on, and then you're going to raise the platform, and you're going to check the length of the overall length. So I'm going to go ahead, raise the platform, operate the handle, and then now I'm going to go ahead and measure the length of the case. The case should be, with the bullet, should be 1 inch to 1.169 inches. I'll go ahead and pull this out to 1 inch, and it is 1.148. It's well within the standard, so this one could be, this is a good round. It's in there far enough. The only other thing I like to do to double check it, 1.148 again, within the SAMI chart. Perfectly good. Perfectly good. You can look exactly for this bullet. I'm going to, it's a Sierra bullet. I got the Sierra manual here. So what I can do here as well is go to that actual bullet in my manual. And the bullet is, it's going to take me a second here to get to it. So I'm going to go to pistol data. And this bullet is 8110 Sierra bullet, so I'm going to go look for 8110 in the 9mm, which is right here. I've tagged it, 8110. Case overall length should be 1.050. 1.050. And we are like right there. It could go to 1.169, it's the maximum length, and minimum length is 1 inch, but the book says 1.190. 1.050 inches, and we are right there with that bullet. Right where we're at is perfect seating height for that bullet. Oops. I'm trying to get this on here for you so you can see it, but if you slide it in there, it's 1.0. It's like 1.048. It's almost perfect. If I want to do anything, I could seat it just a little bit lighter than that, and it would be perfect. So what you do is at this point is you put the bullet back, the casing back in, you raise it up, and we're going to tighten it down again. So I'm going to tighten this thing down. I verified via Sammy and my Sierra that that is the right length. So I'm going to go ahead and hand tighten this again with the shell plate up, of course, remember. The shell plate up. And you just tighten this bad boy down, the locking nut, until it's in place, and then I just give it a little hint of a turn. Boom. Lock in place. That bad boy isn't going anywhere. Raise shell plate up. If you're paranoid about it, check your bullet length again. 1.048. I mean, it's stinking almost perfect on there. So there we go for that bullet. Bing, station 3. So for station 4, crimping die, we're going to raise the platform, screw the crimping die down until it touches the rim of the case. Lower the platform. So put an empty case. Excuse me. That's what you got to pay attention to what you're doing. So I'm going to an empty case into the crimping. I'm going to raise. I'm going to screw the die down until it touches the rim of the case. So I'm turning, and you got to do it till you feel it. Turn. You're going to do it until it touches the rim of the case. Alright, keep that locking nut up. These are short rounds, so it takes a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and there, touch the rim of the case. Doesn't want to go down any further. I'm going to lower the die, and it says 1 additional quarter turn. So I'm going to turn this 1/4 of a turn right there. I'm going to pull this out and put a seated bullet in there, and I'm going to go ahead and operate the handle, and I'm going to make sure that the crimp is where it needs to be. So that's the first check on the crimp. Pull the round off, and it says look at the load manual again. At the load manual, it says the crimp should be, I'm going to go to 9mm Luger. A firm taper crimp. Firm taper crimp. I can still kind of feel the edges on that. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that that's not enough. And give it another 1/8 of a turn. And keep doing this until I get that crimp that is nice. And at this point it just says even the Sammy doesn't tell you what you want the crimp to be. But I'm right at 380, which is about what I need. That's what the round should be here, 380. So I'm going to go ahead and give it another quarter turn because I don't want this round to come out. I'm going to be loading this into a Glock 43. So I want a good firm crimp on there. And it's starting to get there. They say, the good crimp should be, about 20/10 shallower. I'm right on the round there. And that is almost there. just a little more. But you only want to turn this like 1/8 of a turn at a time, because you over crimp and it's bad. I mean, it looks bad. An over crimp bullet. But you just want a nice little firm crimp on there. Now we're getting close. So what happens is when you seat it, you're just pushing it straight into the case. It swells the case a little bit. When you crimp it, you're tightening it around the mouth of the shell. And that's important because you want to get that back pressure to fire this thing off. I measure the case where the bullet isn't, because it squeezes out the case a little bit. So 0.7 there. Let's see. It's getting there. It's getting there. I'm going to go another 1/4 turn here, or 1/8 of a turn. And a lot of this is just feeling how it feels, With a revolver, it's going to have a cantilever in there. This one just needs to crimp on there. And as I said, the load manual says for 9mm Luger to have a firm, as they said it, I want to get it right, a firm, it says a firm crimp, and that's it, the crimp just has to be a firm and strong one on there, and that's it. Firm taper crimp. And I think we're almost there. I'm going to give it one more 1/8 of a turn and see how it feels. It's starting to feel better every single one of those. And I believe that's it. And there you have it. All the dies adjusted. So, at that point, you're going to want to put the bullet in there. As I said, at this point it would be a bullet because it's all done. You're going to want to put the round in there. Again, like anything else, it'll be in there. Raise it up. Tighten the lock nut. And again, not real tight, but you want it tight, because you don't want this thing to slip on you. Let's pull it back out, check it one more time. It looks good. There you have it. Changing calibers, adjusting all the dies. It took me a little longer, so I was talking to you. It took about 30 minutes, it looks like, but normally you can do it you don't have to adjust all these dies. You can do a powder, a caliber change out, 5 minutes. Thanks for watching.